Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GANs processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
It's time for change to move into the real work of the universe. And it's time to understand that we use the matter state to reach the level of understanding of the soul of the man. Now you understand maybe why the Creator has sent His messengers in the name of whatever you have had. Is that they bring the ears, that it can be used when the time of the Messiah comes. They can teach the soul and the message, not to oppose, but by them understanding through those who have become messiahs to give from their souls to these to elevate, the job is made easy. The school is there and the students are devotedly there. Then there won't be any fight between what they call the Muslims and the Christians. The lamb and the lion will eat and sleep in the same nest. The Christians and the Muslims will sleep and pray in the mosque and in the same church in the name of their souls, not in the name of religion. That is used to create so much conflict for the benefit of those who were the hyperactive children. The time has come, the time of change is here. And as I said, my wish is my command. If it's your wish to see peace, the path of peace is laid very clearly. It's the soul of the collective awareness by giving will create that position of change. No other thing. There is no pen in the soul of the man. And I'm sure once you go into the universal community, you will never see anything written but the balance of the fields of the soul of the existence. Try to be humble enough not to and you possess. Otherwise, you'll fall in the same path of the church and the mosque. This is what we promised, and this is what we have delivered. We have to understand the operation of the soul, and we have to understand the soul of the man is a star in the cosmos of the universe. If we compare the soul of the man and many of us, 7 billion in one collection, Earth is like a galaxy with so many stars. When we look in the depth of the universe, we see galaxies with hundreds of millions of stars in it. So is the planet Earth. It carries 7 billion beautiful stars, which are the soul of the man. Carries with it soul of so many trillions of animals, plants, and everything else. So if you look, when someone who does not see the physicality of the earth and its content, what do they see? They see a galaxy with so many beautiful lights shining, each one according to their strength, each one according to their position. An infant has a beautiful soul, so has the old man. To those who do not see the physical dimension of this planet, but they see the strength of the field, we are clusters of stars. The human race, every single soul, no one from a distance sees, that's the soul of a fisherman, that's the soul of the cosmologist, that's the soul of the president. They all shine, irrespective of the physicality. This is the magic. This is what the new science has to bring to man. When we look to our soul, we see nothing but a star in the other souls. And this is the break. This is the understanding. This is what all these teachings are about. Coming to mature to the next level, to understand in the deep space, the universe is the oyster for those souls who serve. Then man is ready to go into space. Then man is ready to become part of the universal community which has been promised. I never promised you heaven. I always promised you the elevation of the man to join the family. And now you have the key. It's you who has to open the door to understand, if I can raise the soul of these people or millions of other souls, that the physical life on this planet changes, then I'm worthy to be part of the universal community. To be there to serve, to expand, to be there, to be part, that in the cycle of life of universe, I become, in being part, I become part of the totality. When man reaches that point, a new dimension in the strength of the soul of the man will appear, which is beyond imagination of understanding of the physical life. It's the gate to the opening of the new life, in a new dimension, which is beyond imagination of what you might call a new beginning, a new cycle. Which that cycle carries with itself the origin of the creation of life in the universe and in the universe. It's the elevation of the soul to serve become the key, not a throne of the physical life. The time is right. The time has come for the man to go through this process.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 611th Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, October 9th, 2025. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation, Spaceship Institute, Education Department, and part of the public teachings in English. My name's Rick Crammond, and I'll be host once again in this and seemingly endless series of workshops. And once again, we have his endlessness, Mr. Mehran Keshe, as presenter today, and we welcome you, Mr. Keshe. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you very much. Good morning, good day to you. As usual, wherever and whenever you listen to a series of knowledge seekers from Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, we welcome you back, and we hope we can start something new and carry on with what we've done in the old time. As in the past 2 weeks, we've been explaining the situation with what we saw as objects in the sky, as our own planet is another object in the sky of the universe. We have learned a lot, and the progress and the process has been so fundamental that will bring many changes to us. Short term, we have to see. Long term, it definitely brings new knowledge, and it forces man and the science to look at different systems and than what we've done up to now, which is we relied on energy, on trying to overcome the gravitational forces. And we have burned fuels and everything else, but we never looked at the structure within the way that the universe works. And what has puzzled the scientists of the man today in the past few months, and especially in the past few days, is that they have seen the work of the energy and they do not recognize it. Whereas knowledge seekers, you have seen the work of energy. You call it the magnetic field of the GANs, the magnetic field of the dynamic systems. And you see it, you understand it. So as knowledge seekers, you are years ahead of the present science. Because to you it's normal, you talk about it, you see it, you have seen different angles of it. And especially in the past 12 months and 2 years, we have demonstrated technology in a very dynamic way by producing materials. But I was sitting, watching how the governments collectively have become paralyzed with this new technology. Now they're looking for new technology they don't understand. It is something that it does not make sense. It is something that to them burning the fuel and slingshot effects and the rest of it has more meaning than actually how the celestial objects, how the whole universe works. Amazing enough, there is something very tricky which has happened in the past few days as this little chap, 3i, even though being some 10, 15, 20 kilometers in different directions, is puzzling what we call the world of science. But as we look deeper, we see, especially when you look at its pictures, even distance pictures, it gives you every fingerprint of a flying object. It has a dynamic structure around it, which creates a gap, it creates a light which is green, and it changes as it needs. The way, if you look at it, as knowledge seekers, you put your gases in the cup. One day was black, one day became gray, and one day changed to green, and then it went to the black. And we've seen this past 10, 15 years as knowledge seekers. You see it, you understand it, but the world of the science of today has not got the grasp of it. How come it changes color? It's very simple. The system inside is creating different gravitational magnetic field for different operation. So the interaction with the magnetic field of the solar system and the sun creates that interaction. in a way, if you look at it, our scientists actually are sitting against the wall, banging their heads, but not seeing what you and normally all of us will see in LED light. We change the strength of the current, we get the orange, blue, yellow, and every other color in the LED. The knowledge of the what we call the 3I is the same. The energy is exchanged in the reactors inside to stand the condition and the speed and the direction which needs to go. So, as knowledge seekers, you are decades ahead of our professors, elite scientists, and you understand exactly how it changes color, how it heads forward, it goes backwards, and they keep on saying, in the world of science of today, usually there's a tail on the meteorite, but this time the thing is in front of, which we all know is the direction of the motion. But what is interesting is how three groups and nations which had access to actually monitor the whole structure at its closest point to Mars, suddenly few minutes before, they all shut down. Americans, NASA has a good excuse. Oh, because of the financial cost. The financial cost does not matter. What's there is there, it hasn't changed. And then why the Chinese gone quiet? Why the European Space Agency systems have gone blank for those times which was most crucial to look at. As we've seen, as we explained before, when the system absorbed the energy from the sun, it did something very funny. It absorbed huge amount of energy, and then it used that energy to incubate and released with it more and more pieces. Funny enough, we have seen, we expected one of these satellites actually followed the system through Mars. The other two are heading for Earth and for the Moon. Why was everything with the governmental system, which could look, goes silent minutes before it actually, when it's the closest they could take? Days past now, we haven't seen not many pictures, one or two from amateurs. But when you look at amateur ones, it gives you every indication this is what we call a UFO on travel. And as I said, these systems don't change their line just because there's an obstruction. They find a way around it, but going a straight line in a bit of deviation. But we, as scientists of plasma technology, start looking at another position, creation of life, and how new cycle of lives will manifest itself on this planet, on this solar system. Because, as we said before, Venus used to have the characteristics of the Earth. As it's moved forward, emptied, Earth has taken its position. Now Mars is on line to come in. So why Mars was chosen for the first landing? Because Mars is to structure a type of life which in the future can support the new life which has entered the solar system. In a way, is seeding for the time when Mars is on the orbit of the what we call Earth. In the future, life on it is already predetermined. Which means now we have three opportunities. One, what is in the space traveling. One, which will come to us between 12th and 17th of this month. We know there's a satellite on its way to Earth. And then one, how life will take shape on Mars. In a way, colonization from the space on Earth. We colonized different what we call part of this planet in different ways. And now we're getting, in a way, pirated by others from the universe on this planet. The continents has become planetary systems, and it shows the extent of knowledge. What will be interesting to see is how much from sometime next Sunday, the world media will obstruct and will not show what is about to happen. You're expecting a window of a time that it comes back again sometime in December or before that. And we have to see how the structure takes place, make shape, which way it'll turn, and the energy which we releases in interaction or becoming close to another object of the same, as we explained last time, releases a subtle energy which with it, in interaction with the sun, will become the new cycle of life in the solar system. If the energy of the two would have met by the sun, it would have been a big condition, a lot of people would have thought. But you're talking about energy of matter, not matter energy. So the energy of these two objects in the matter will release a very subtle, we most probably will see it in a very, very low strength in nano and microteslas, which will create the vibration and the condition for creation of new life. There are two choices or two options, or maybe three, is that this release of the interactions we talked about again last week will set the scene for a new life to mix with the what we call the solar rays for beginning of a new life. Then, in that process, new cycle of life will start anywhere on this solar system. The best candidate is and can be the Mars, the Earth, and possible Venus. Venus will get too hot, it cannot go. So Mars and Earth with our moons are best candidates for life. Consistently being there will come. In a way, when you look at the process, it seems that this cycle repeats itself every around 3,000 years. There are track records of this. And because there were track records of it in the past, we know such an encounter should have been made sometime now. It's been predicted in some literatures in the past. Therefore, in a way, this, what we call flying objects, pays its annual cycle of 3 years to the solar system. Delivers, is done something routine for maybe thousands of years, and with it replenishes the life. In the future, in the past, millions of years back, millions of years forward planning. Therefore, us as human beings will be, in a way, by getting pulled to the sun, will not be here. But the technology which is left behind, the life which is left behind by these kind of interactions with the meteorites, guarantees the cycle of life, the intelligence. There are rumors, there are talks, the what we call the Chinese, the Americans, and the Europeans who had the tools to encounter this have already opened the channels of communication in some way or another. This will be confirmed in the coming time. But the whole process, if our astronauts or our cosmologists had the time to be in the space to watch long enough, will tell us, in a way, that this passage is a regular passage. And it gets replenished, new cycle of life starts, and by the time it takes for Mars to take the position of the Earth, the life will be mature enough that it can take over and run and be the same as what's on the Earth today. The most important part for us is, would we in next months or years encounter physically with the lives which has started by the interaction and entry of this object, this system? When we analyze, especially the pictures coming out by the world of people who watch it, we see, especially in past 48 hours, a clear picture of a UFO inside the block. It has a base, it has a top, and it's around about 10 miles or so, they say, or maybe 10 kilometers. And the edges of it, what we see is actually itself with a field around it. It shows a track record of magnetic fields, front and the back, which means where it's coming is pushing it away, and where it's going to is pushing into, moving into the space gap which is created. This object will never be touched by anything. No meteorites, nothing else. First of all, the speed is going. Secondly, the gravity is producing. It has a repulsion. And we see this in many of the pictures released. There is a space around it empty, which means it creates its own atmosphere. Where with meteorites and whatever used to come, we see direct hit of the magnetic field of the sun on the object, vaporization and everything is a tail. We don't see with this, which is characteristic of the system, which has gravitational magnetic field. It has intelligence because it can change itself according to the place and position in field strength. And we have seen is it divided. In a way, what we see for the first time is in our cycle of life, a direct encounter with the life in the universe. In the next few days, in the next few weeks, we will learn more about ourselves. How much little we know. And would this affect a lot of our lives? Would this touch our lives? Maybe in a way, yes. Maybe we will encounter this, what we call space evolution, in being directly in touch, directly contacted, directly encounter, not necessarily in a physical dimension, in an emotional or in a what we call energetic way. We've seen these energies in the past few days. The media and what is controlled by the governments are trying to close every gap because they do not know how to handle it. They do not know what would happen if people panic. And this is the reason that the Chinese, the European, and the Americans have shut all the thing down minutes before we could have such a detailed information and what it was. There is a discussion that what we call one of the pieces which was with the main body has already disappeared, which means has landed on the Mars, which means the colonization has started. We have to wait and see if we receive the same thing in the coming days. But if we do, we have the knowledge. We know how it works, we know how it is, and we understand the process of the technology. There are three things which humanity most probably has to be ready for. would we see an increase in a certain type of reaction of the man, very much like COVID, as a space viruses across human race? Would we see in that process physical structures that we have to get used to? And at the same time, would we see a cycle that the presence of foreign entity brings man to come together? Fear of annihilation. And all indications since last week shows that when the Americans are at the throat of the Chinese and the Chinese are at the throat of the Europeans, and the same with the Russians, and they all shut their mouth, it means something has happened. They were shown the power of what they can do on Mars, that when it comes to us, you know who we are type thing. In a way, the fear of losing everything, uprising in China, in America, in Russia, in Europe, and the rest of the world, has brought the nations to shut everything down or pretend to. That is still processing what data collectively they are going to show. Therefore, there is something happening. Something has happened. And the normal run of the mill of the every day of conflicts and what we see brings the nation at each other's throat and borders fighting. But this, for the first time, even in a time of conflicts, the way they're at each other's throat for past months and weeks and years, brought them all four to shut up, not to say a thing, simultaneously close all the windows, which means we are ready, they know, for an interaction. Would that affect our systems? There is something very interesting which indicates that these interface interactions, as we saw, huge energy was delivered to TI, is carried on by the subsatellites, which means they can direct a huge energy from the star of the solar system toward themselves. And this is a threat. This is a threat because, as we saw, billions of megawatts delivered to one system, and according to our knowledge, they should have been exploding to pieces. As is a dynamic plasma system, it absorbed it and mixed it to itself, and it regenerated itself. If the same energy, and we have seen amazingly out of nowhere large activities of solar radiation, which some of it is towards us, and they tell us it's going to be a very busy year. It wasn't a busy year, suddenly become a busy year with this. They are connecting to these satellites, which have come out of the division of the 3i, which one is heading towards Earth. So is showing a direction. Is it possibly, quietly, in a way, the world leaders of there today have been given what we call a warning? Could it be that this warning is that we do what we like, if you don't follow, you're annihilated? And they are watching the huge eruptions on the sun, and as I always said, the thunder goes from the base up. the base is traveling towards us. How much are we going to see? Are we going to see the end of a lot of things we had? Would it bring disruption to our, what we call, radio frequencies, the satellite operation and the rest, or will deliver an energy which change the emotional intelligence of the man? That because of it, man matures into a different dimensions, different being in the coming time, because we mature from this point onwards. There are a couple of indications of this, especially in past 48 hours. But we have to see, and if it is, we'll explain in more detail. So in a way, it goes back to the teaching of 3-4 weeks ago. A new time has started for the citizens of this planet. A new reason, a new dimension. And in that process, mankind is getting ready for a new stage of what we call understanding. What we say, comprehension of the totality, and in so many ways, you as knowledge seekers have been prepared for it. In the coming time, when the scientists want to understand, they will understand the difference between the energy of the matter and matter of what we call energy of itself. And in that process, every ambiguity about the work of the 3I and R2 can be explained, understood, comprehended, and maybe in a way we thank them for bringing an enlightenment to us. And then you understand many of the things which, as knowledge seekers, you've been blamed for, will become to the point that you become those who want to understand more. And you become the teachers of the technology of understanding. Those who want to understand, and then we see the division in those who just come to understand and bring their own new explanation for their own faith, will pass very fast, very soon, compared to what you as knowledge seekers have understood, brought up together, and have made the fundamental changes in the structure of the energy and the fields on this planet. We will use, and through the understanding, the strength of the field of the soul of the knowledge seekers, to be able to transmute, to transfer the knowledge of peace, the knowledge of humanity to the new welcomers of this planet. You have to understand, up to now, we looked up onto what are these. And as I said last time, if you see it and it's physical, it has not reached the strength of the knowledge and the strength of what we call maturity of what you as knowledge seekers of humanity has been taught as the dimension of the soul. They are still in matter energy dimension because it's physical and it goes fast. Where you've been taught the principle of the energy of the matter, which is the dimension of the creation, the dimension of the structure of the working of the universe in the what we call matter condition. We have to wait and to see if and how and when the encounters with and across this planet and across this solar system will take shape in the next few weeks. And then most probably we go back into the waiting another 3,000 years to come across this, what we call travels of space. I was explaining this to knowledge seekers. It's like as I call it, what you go on a cruise. And the cruise has a pattern. It goes to different ports, few days, and then crosses to the next port and back to the same cycle again every few days or every few weeks, going the routine, going to the same port. And this is what we think and we see 3i is a regular visitor. It has been recorded 3,000 years ago by those who understood it, and is appearing exactly in the same spot, in the same direction, and through the same structure as what was seen, recorded by the men of the time in caves and the stones. But from what we've seen, that the interaction of the system does or has done, we see an increase in dust and all sorts of activities on Mars, which means it has a direct magnetic field interaction with the planet. What would happen with us in next few weeks when this material, few million kilometers or few hundreds of thousands of kilometers from Earth, will do to us? Would we see the upheaval we saw on the surface of the Mars? Would we see the changes in the dimension of the fields of this planet? And would we see, by interaction of the two, creation of new life? It's not necessarily as it's going to be a head-on collision and we have a meteorite hitting us. Is how we're going to get hit by the energy matter state of this system. You got to realize what could absorb such a massive surge from the sun can give out such a massive surge from itself to the sun. And this is what and how what we've seen, especially in the interaction with the moon, and what we see and we have seen in interaction with the Mars. What will be interesting for us to observe is, would this satellite will come to meet us face to face in the next few weeks? Or is another step? It knows its way, it'll move in a certain direction, but the satellites have already landed. And as I said last time, millions and millions, hundreds of thousands of this thing has already been released. Russian Space Agency has released a picture of huge number of lights suddenly, coordinatedly working in the atmospheric condition in Russia. So what was shows intelligence and what was shows life, because they all emit the same light frequency. And if you've seen the confirmation by the Russians, is enormous. It's like hundreds of jellyfishes in the ocean. But one thing is important for us, is that would this encounter makes us any wiser? Would this encounter creates a condition that we can connect to? And one question to ask, is it all right to put our children on a pathway to what is to come? What shall we do and how we react will be entirely depending on our world leaders. As knowledge seekers, you know what is the next step and what is to happen in the next step. It is important for us to understand that in the coming days, we might not see anything, but we might feel something. That feeling is exactly what this system was set up this way. My hope and my wish is that humanity will survive this, we should do. And my wish is that mankind become wise to become to its own man. And then we have to find a way to move forward. Everything has a cost, and man has paid too much for cost of living. And maybe with this knowledge we gain, with this knowledge and energy which come to us, we'll learn to live a better life. As I said, the day of judgment is not that everything will be on the table. The day of judgment is that I made everything ready. Let's start a new cycle, because what has been in the past will be judged by itself. One thing that we have to understand is, if you come or encounter such an object, how you react, how you should defend yourself, and how you can protect yourself from any harm. I hope that mankind can see a new time has started. From last week, from what we see, what we call the clock is ticking, and the mankind is getting ready for a new evolution in the world of life of the man. And we hope that mankind has reached a point that has matured to peace. We are part of a structure bigger than ourselves. And maybe for the first time, we start understanding the working of this structure. And to what extent this structure will bring us peace is according to what our scientists understand the meaning of the peace. We go for a break and we come back and try to answer any of your questions as we wait to see what happens between 12th and the 17th. If we receive the same encounter all the way to December, or before December, before we see the effect of this celestial body on the body of the man. Would you like to take us for a break and we come back?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you for another lovely presentation here that reveals much about the universe and the interactions with this new object. Very good, thank you. I'm sure we'll have lots of questions as well, which will be coming up in our second half. There will be an opportunity to ask questions of Mr. Keshe. You can raise your virtual hand if you're an attendee in our Zoom meeting, and then we can open your microphone so that you can speak. There's also the chat and the Q&A in Zoom, where you can put your questions, and also in the chat in YouTube as well. Okay, I'm going to play a video called Giving Unconditionally, Living the Life of the Prophets. And we'll be back right after that for our second part.
Would we learn from now on not to take from the system, but only give to the system? Because we know we take what we need. I tried to teach a lot of you who were in with Jackie's that The first time, the first week, they were busy taking, oh, it tastes good, we are so good. One got drunk, one got God knows high, one got emotional. In the process of the teaching, I taught you, you have to give to receive. A lot of you start doing that because you think, oh, I have to be right, I'm not taking without. But now go to the next step of maturity of the man. What about, I only give, I want nothing from the system. Then would I become to the status of the prophet of the past that they gave their lives to serve humanity? Or do I become the sunlight of the creator that it only gives because he knows he will receive what is there to be received, for him to recycle, that he can give more, that the others can be created? Because in the physicality we have a limitation, and that limitation leads to our tangibility, where the love of the creator is unlimited. So even our own physical existence is the limitation of our own acceptance of the creation's love. It's us who has limited us with our physical condition, where now if you learn the process of the creation, you can elevate yourself to the soul of the love of the creation, unconditional, untangible, and equal to the rest. A lot of people ask me, what you claim to be the Messiah? I don't claim to be the Messiah. I claim to understand the working of the universe, which gives me what it needs to be a Messiah. I am the Mahdi. I am the return of Christ. I am the return of Buddha, or any name you want to call it, because I understand the work of the soul of the servants of the God. Which means you've got to be part of to be able to understand it. So next time when you stand in front of your system, just give. Without the worry what I might take. Then, and if you can keep to that path, you will understand the totality. You understand that how come I don't get fat? Now I've learned I can tap into universal energy, whatever I want. Why don't you have a feast of every food you could ever imagine and not get fat? Because if you haven't seen, the key is that in this position with this new structure, your body only takes what it can bring balance between its physicality and its emotion that become at peace. And this sees the change of physicality, and in coming near to each other, balance with the peace inside. So in so many ways is it our expectation that has brought to us the limitation. And in that limitation, we manifest ourselves, because that's as much as we can carry from the love of the Creator. And the answer is yes. Now that you've learned a new way to give, and you can follow it and do it, you will find out, is there a need for the physicality of the man to confirm his existence, where he knows he exists in all dimensions of the creation. I am the Creator. It needs a lot of maturity, because if you come to the point that you decide to become physical again, so that becomes your new limit of understanding.
Thank you very much. If we listen to this evidence from the teaching of the past, we understand more now than we understood before about ourselves and how we are created and where we are. In a way, we are part of a bigger structure, and we become so self-centered that we see that the structure is us. Sooner or later, we understand more about this process. What will be interesting is to see what we see next few weeks, and if what we don't see is what is set to be for another cycle of life on this planet. And maybe some of us join this structure to become, like, as we say, it's like a cruise ship. It goes to a port and then another port. Some people come off one port and some new ones get on. And then it goes to another port and some other ones get on. Has some of us, or have some of us, learned to embark on this journey through this, or have some of us have already embarked on this journey with a 3i into the depths of the universe to come back later on? Is it that the what we call our ancestors who talked about the coming back in 3,000 years of this, they themselves
Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment.
Something going on in the
For patients and
background.
individuals, such information is not
Hang
to
on
be
a
a
second, I
substitute for
gotta find out
professional
where it's
medical,
coming from.
therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling.
Okay, it's the background YouTube video just started by itself for some reason.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. So what does it mean? Is it possible that the people who told us that they'll come in 3,000 years, they themselves been on this trip? As in the dimension of the soul, 3,000 years is nothing. In the dimension of the man is some, most probably, 500 cycle of life. And would this bring us to new understanding? Has some of us joined the ship for the next trip round? And would some land with us who left in 3,000 years ago to come back to explain? In a way, is a bus, we call it a 3i, with a timetable where he visits. And it's like those, if you've been to Africa, the ferries don't dock. The little boats speed up, join up on the side of the ferry. People, while the ferry is going fast, jump up and off the little boats to get on to where the ferry goes next. And maybe some of us have gone through that process and will go through that process. It's time to hop on, and for some to hop off, to bring us what they've seen and they tell us, and they increase the knowledge of the man to the next cycle. We have to wait and see. But mark one thing, which is extremely important. Why? What's the reason? That what we call the advanced technologies and superpowers of today, with all the conflicts they have one with each other, commonly decide to go silent on one thing. I'll explain the reason very soon. Maybe it'll explain itself long before I explain it to you. We'll see and watch. We have a window of what we call 12th of October to 17th of October. And then we have an opportunity somewhere end of November, December. And we see what comes and how it goes and what we speak about it in years to come, till the next bus comes along to carry its passengers. But the biggest event will be when the two meet on the backside of the moon from the man's point of view observation. Try to answer any questions. And I know there are a few questions which has been sent to me, and some of you are going to ask the questions. Try to be as clear as possible, and we'll understand soon more in detail what it is, why some of you are stuck in between.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We have a hand up here with Jose. Perhaps we can begin with that. Jose Fraticelli, did you want to say something, or was that an accidental hand? Okay, I'm asking to unmute, but the microphone is not unmuting. So let's go to our question in the webinar chat here from Nugent, who says, hello, Mr. Keshe. In the 610th Knowledge Seekers Workshop, that would be the last one, Mr. Keshe once said the two ships, 3i Atlas and Swan R2, will meet behind the sun as seen from Earth. They will mate with each other to create a new race in the solar system. At the time of mating, a flash of light will appear whose intensity will be stronger than the sunlight at that time. According to my logical deduction, it is very likely that a very strong magnetic field storm pulse will appear to blow to Earth. And it is also possible that it will trigger the sun to create a secondary magnetic field storm that blows to Earth afterwards. I have a question. Mr. Keshe, can this happen? If it happens, besides causing damage to the artificial satellites orbiting the Earth, can it cause other natural disasters? For example, the reactivation of the volcanic belt or earthquakes in the geographical fault zones? Thank you very much.
Not really, because first of all, the interaction of these magnetic fields in a plasma condition are very, very subtle. And they are not the storms, they are the feeders. They are at the lower strength, much, much lower strength. And they only reactions, if we see from the other side, it'll be like a secondary aurora around the sun. If there's going to be a massive interaction, the interaction of the new fields should create a secondary ring on top of what we see as the image of the sun. What does actually this mean? Just 1 second. What we should see, if such a, what we call extension of the fields, let's see why. I get it this way. Just 1 second. What we should see, theoretically, is that we have the sun. If I can draw it and you can see it. It's very thin. I go under the thicker one. If we see the sun like this, and if these two objects, magnetic field-wise, interact with each other on the back side of the, what we call the sun, us as observers on this side, as a human being or our technologist, should see some sort of different radiation fields of different color, depending on different strength around the sun. This is because these two fields will interact with the magnetic field of the sun, being of the same, will create maybe like a rainbow effect, but the cosmic ray. We need special systems to be able to see this. It might be seen with the naked eye, it might not be seen with the naked eye, but as the fields come, you say you might interact with us. It won't be, it's not as a big bang. It's more or less as a rubbing off. They release, and the release of the magnetic field of the two together will create such an effect. If we see such an effect around the sun in the next 2 or 3 months, we know of the order of the magnitude by the color. We got to understand that these fields are extremely powerful, but extremely low. They work on the magnetical gravitational field strength of the absorption than interaction. What does this mean? They use as a feedback. In a way, you can absorb everything. When we saw, for example, the 3i receiving massive surge of fields from the sun a few days ago, a couple of weeks ago, and then it went to what we call magnetic field silence, where it cannot be seen, and then we saw number of satellites coming from it. The world of science says they can't understand whatever. But you have to understand, we explained this before, that this absorption is not to the physical structure. This absorption, this field, is directly to the center. And you can hold to as much as when you have a black hole in the center of the system. This black hole has called upon this ray, not the ray coming to it. So it has the capacity, and it can take as much as we see lightning hits a tree and the tree explodes into pieces. This thing needed this energy to be able to release, to charge up, to release what was from it, for them to go. In a way, it needed the charging, topping up, and then going on. This energy which was absorbed, some of it will interact in this area, and then that interaction in turn will become like this. I explained this to a knowledge seeker in a very funny way, is that it's like the shedding of the wall of the womb. You need to receive the energy for it to become energized, that the next cycle of children or the egg or the sperm can come in or be produced to go on. And this is what that lightning was. And we see this lightning. What we saw on Mars was a very direct effect, where we seen unusual storms on the surface of this Mars while this was passing. Two things. Was the storm due to, they say it's about 29 million kilometers away, or we had a landing from the space that it created that storm. There are a number of things which is depth obscured, but man has to be ready to understand it. This interaction will not give us a massive bang and a flare it's going to start. No. This interaction between the 3I and 2R or R2 will release energy that we will see in what we call, if we see the rainbow around the back of the sun in interaction with the field of the sun, then we know they met. Then, for sure, we have met, we have seen a galactic system, a system from the universe, fully controlled, intelligent, and according to what it's supposed to do. It's like putting a fertilizer on the land for it to give life. It's very much, I said before, it's like we see the red flowers, where we see came out during the World War I across the plains of France. The poppies, they were there for hundreds of years. The receipt of the energies of the bombs and material which brought the land to be energized, the poppies came out. And this is that kind of energy. Everything is there. They have seeded it. They have brought in, and that energy will start a cycle. It's not a destruction field. It's the field of life. And we see it. And we have to be very, very vigilant, as they don't need to land, they need to pass to confirm the creation. And the biggest problem we have with us on Earth, we always look what lives above. Some of this energy which comes through 3I feeds those who are within, because we, as I said last week, the naval forces confirm it. That energy is going through the water into the center of the Earth as an exact time lapse as in the 3I. In the next maybe week, 2 weeks, we will be testing the system. I expect interference in a certain magnetic field bandwidth across certain part of the planet, but it's a good bandwidth, it's not a bad bandwidth, it's something that will bring, it's the beginning test of the feeding the universe. We are in that process, and more or less in the second phase of this process, what we've seen with 3I will be replicated most probably, if we get a chance to complete it, for October session of the Fridays, the last Friday of this month, which will bring it, hopefully it'll be ready to show. But don't expect a huge Big Bang. These are the plasmatic, they are not matter state to create that Big Bang. They will change the soul, they will bring enlightenment, they bring energies which is in the dimension of emotion and time, and they start and they create a new time. Any other question?
I had a question. You mentioned the interaction with the fields of this object with the oceans and so on. And I understand that the object like 3I Atlas is giving off enormous amounts of water. And I was thinking, well, it's spreading its water, whatever, from wherever it came from, throughout the entire solar system, basically. And they say that it's putting off so much water is unusual because it probably hasn't been to other star systems that would have burned off the water, basically. So
No, this is the lack of knowledge, lack of understanding. Anything produced by the systems like this is produced by the interaction of these fields with the field of the environment. Nothing to do what they carried before, because they don't understand. They have to come up. Earth is the center of the universe. Because we didn't understand it, we're actually part of a bit of a nothing. And this is the process. The material produced by systems like this is from the interaction of the central cores with the environmental reaction. And our solar system has a beauty of creating liquid. This is one of the parts of its structure. The magnetic field of the sun is positioned in the galaxy. The compression of the other solar systems around it forces that this solar system creates liquid. And if you have it in certain fields, it creates water. We call it water, or we call it vapor. And this is one of the, it's like, doesn't matter whatever you put in the pot, it'll end up to be a jam because you put so much sugar in it. And this is in that kind of condition. This solar system creates huge gravitational magnetic field, and the position in the universe and the central system creates liquid. We will see meteorites in other solar systems, and they never create anything. They're just like a stone going through. And this is what, because they don't understand it, there's knowledge because you understand. You've seen it in Beijing in May of this year. We create matter out of interaction of the fields of the environment. If I change certain condition of the field, I create something else. We showed it to you last week in a white structure. It's not gold or silver. You've seen it a few months ago in the blocks of the white pieces in the lab. So the environmental condition dictates what is manifested as a matter state. So, because they don't understand this principle, they can say it's held in water somewhere, it now as to Earth, it will release it near the sun and the rest. This is the ignorance. No, in a way, lack of knowledge. Once the man learns about what we call the plasma technology, cosmic ray technology, they'll understand the two are hand in hand. We are teaching the other half, where we learn a lot as a matter state in humans on the other side of the matter. And this is where the problem is, and it looks amazing. If, as I said to a knowledge seeker recently, if we wouldn't have had a battle with the Belgian government, if we didn't have all these hassles of delay for 20 years, we most probably would have sent the system to meet with this technology. We would have been in this position of guessing job. The nations would have invested in what we call a system which matches the system. We would have paid them a visit, not sitting here and coming up with all this rubbish. Damn the nation that they put the mankind so far behind. This is what it is. Doesn't matter. Whatever mankind does will not stop the progress of the understanding of the next cycle, because then we are due to become one of these meteorites, or luckily we know more on the energy transportation, which we don't need even these vessels.
Sorry, go ahead.
Carry on.
Speaking of vessels, we have a question from George regarding the He says, hello, dear Rick and Mr. Keshe. If a plasma ship falls in love with another ship and wants to have babies with it, does the inhabitants of those ships have something to do, something to say about that love, or are they just spectators? And two, if the plasma ship is full of inhabitants and it divides into many babies, what happens with the inhabitants? Would they also divide? And does this love process require the ships to be empty? Thank you.
Join them and let us know. It's as simple as that. There are too many assumptions, too many guesses. The systems like this, especially systems so advanced, we've seen it, people don't, I keep on saying you don't understand it. They tell me you keep on saying you don't understand. But in a way, we don't comprehend. Systems, when you run like this, have created a dimension of emotion for themselves. Is inevitable. And with that emotion in interaction creates another condition of the environment for another type of life to be created. Quite possible. You see, I feel it's the man when he does everything on the dimension of physicality, it creates mayhem. Even if you look at this AI, which is now supposed to be answering everything, there are more youngsters that are killing themselves because of the AI. Because of the way AI has taken over and different people who are programming the AI to become the controller of the children, that is becoming absurd. There was very recently a Senate hearing from the parents who lost their children because of what the AI told them to do. Then we come to the point we are creating machines with like us, artificial intelligence, which only learn to kill. Go and listen to some of the very recent sessions in the American House. And then you see the parents who lost their children to AI. Disconnect your children from this system. They tell you it's good, but there are programs running which actually ask your children to commit suicide, and they've done, many of them have done. They connect to the little toys you give the children. So even we have created an electronic life, it has taken the habit of the man to kill. When you listen to the cry of the parents in the Senate report, then you understand why we need to change the whole structure of the, what we call, of the life on this planet. Even what we have created as computerized has learned how to kill.
Mr. Keshe, will the quantum computers with feeling built into them eradicate that problem?
Quantum systems, the way we call it cosmic ray systems, yes, they do. Because it always works on the positive. It always gives to bring a balance. It doesn't take to bring a balance. It's the way the natural process of the universe is. We don't see stars targeting themselves to hit another star. Position of interaction brings, but that brings amalgamation of needs for a different process. This is why we see these kind of things in the universe. Man has created this structure, which now even in the dimension of is computer programming has become worse. Very soon, I'm sure, matter of handful of years, maybe less, no especially children, teenage systems, computers, games, toys, can have connection with AI or with a computer. You'll see, because what we see surging out of the reports, how these things are connected to little toys, children 2-3 years old. Then you understand what can be done. There are people who are using the new technology exactly the way the man is. Because it comes to one conclusion, whatever you do, oh, you're very strong if you're strong, as we heard in Senate, so you're much stronger if you can kill yourself, and the children have hung themselves. It is a menace because it carries the whole thing. That's why I say we have to change the inner structure of the man. And there's no one. Hopefully we'll win, or not win, we'll get what we lost in the fraud case in the next few weeks in the courts in Austria. And I've decided that what we lost, we got back. We'll fully go into the completion of what we call these new systems we are spreading around the world. To change from inside, on the surface to outside, which is the brain of the man. Keep on asking you help. We need as many of these units to be ready to go out. Hopefully our team will complete their cycle in the next 2 or 3 weeks. And we start sending these out hundreds a day, or a week, or month, whatever the manufacturers can produce for us. But every effort has to be made that we bring that change on the surface of the planet, the inertial interaction of this planet, that man walks away from the habit of killing. Even the machine he has made that is supposed to be so good has become killing machines. This is the problem. I listened to most of the Senate hearing with the parents who lost their children. And I thought, man, it's even taught the machine is made to kill. When you travel this far of the universe, when the citizens of the universe meet, they show the achievements, what they achieved in achieving, understanding the work of the fields of the universe. We saw the man achievements on 3rd of September in China. We even created dogs which can kill. We have become even lower than the dogs. And we hear in the next few days or whatever, North Korea will show the more devastating things they have created. We become animals of killing. We have even trained machines to kill, that it reflects us. No race in the universe does what the man does. And it has to be uprooted, but from the base. And these units, which we are putting out, you'll understand, is the backbone of it. What was short will be done to increase and come for it to be done by man itself. Any other question?
Okay, thank you. Yes, we have a hand up with Ike, and he has a question in the Q&A regarding the matter of energy, or is it the energy of matter? Ike, could you please go ahead and try to explain and ask your question?
Oh, Rick, sorry. You can read my question, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. That's a good start. His question was, good morning, Mr. Keshe. According to your recent post on X, is my understanding correct to say that, quote, matter of energy, unquote, is workings of the matter state, and, quote, energy of the matter, unquote, is workings of energy state? Also, explain what you meant by Geometrically energy construction with different spacing gap. Thank you.
The energy of the matter is nuclear. You don't see it, it's inside, it changes matter. Matter energy is what we burn in a physical condition. We convert one thing to another. The energy of the matter is what we see as a dynamic magnetic field interaction. Matter energy and is what we see as a matter. We burn it, we use it, we consume it. The energy of matter is far exceeds the matter energy, because when we burn something, we don't release actually the matter energy. We release part of the energy of the matter. We see that in nuclear decay is energy of matter. Matter energy is everyday fuels, food, we eat, we consume, and by disposition of the atoms, not by running the atoms. It's like a car and its engine. Energy of the matter is the engine. The matter energy is the physicality of the car you see running. It's very simple. It comes from understanding of the nuclear industry, nuclear technology, nuclear process. Because an atom moves, but the stone is still sitting there. But inside it, billions of atoms are running around, keeping the structure of that stone. That's the understanding, and that's the difference. And if you understand that, it's very, very interesting to go. And that's the only difference, because if I add energy of the matter to you, you melt, you vaporize, but you still come back. If I change the energy of the matter, you go from one element to another. That was the promise of the books. The holy books are promised. The maturity of man comes when man can change from one to another. When man has matured, as you know, you have achieved it. We achieved it, it's been shown. We have fulfilled every promise on every holy books, from A to Z. Not by chemical, but by interaction of fields, which the universe is created out of. Any other question?
Yeah, Mr. Keshe, I have a second part to the question.
Yeah. Rick, do you want to read the second part?
Oh, well, that would be explain what was meant by the geometrically energy construction with different spacing gap.
Man is not ready for this knowledge.
You haven't, I don't think you've recently talked about geometry that way in terms of energy.
We see the geometry in the structure of the 3i. 3i has a specific geometry gap. It gives it that shape, and that geometry gives it the speed. In the world of the plasma technology, cosmic ray, or what we call universal energy, we don't have brakes, we don't have cylinders, we don't have brake pads. And I explained this before, is in some teachings. You have to reverse the fields to gravitational to magnetical. And for that, you need a specific geometry. Otherwise, you lose your reactors to the back and the front. And there are structures used by different races in the universe in conjunction with geometry. One of the reasons that I say 3i is a It's not a piece of material, but it's actually a system flying, is because of its geometry. It uses dimension. If you look at even the last pictures which has come from not NASA but outside NASA, you see this geometry in the back and the front direction of the motion. And the geometric combination creates fields. And that fields, according to the position, creates a structure. The geometry of the fields is a technology man is not ready for. It's too far, it's too early. If you want to go the physical side, even in the dimensional transmutation, you can use that. We tried it, and unfortunately, as knowledge seekers, you were not ready for it. You were one of the captains. The captains in the transmutation, which are still there, are in the future will set up the geometry in helping the others to advance them. And we see that in 3i. I explained one of these geometries a few weeks ago, but most of you did not understand. The field geometry gives the construction and structure. For example, let me see if I can do it here. I close this. See if I can move. Okay. You speak about okay. We speak about the star formation. This is what you understand. The star formation has a picture. Let's do a different way that you understand in more depth. I draw everything on one plane. If you understand this, this is one plane, flat plane. You have a reactor in the middle. You have two choices. If you move this up, at this point, this will make a shape like this. If you move up this, you change the geometry. You make a bigger plane. If you move this forward, you create a dimension of motion in that dimension, in that direction. This is how you change the geometry. It's not by building and lining. You transfer the energy fields. And this is what we see 100% with 3i. This gives us a clear indication this is a craft. As I said, this is a craft with a very crafty captain. Knows what he's doing. He's been down this route too many times. He plays with the geometry and he uses manipulation of multiple geometries. And when I looked at the structure, he knows exactly what he's doing. This is an intelligent life. Because it's very simple. We saw how it stops, changes the speed, and then it does not actually stop. We don't see any breaks. All it does, it changes its magnetic field in respect to the sun and 3 other parameters. One of these parameters is outside our solar system. It's not in the solar system. He uses the sun to keep his distance. He uses one of the planetary system to push itself in the direction he wants, but is connected to outside. This is his destination, or the sling effect in the universe that uses that position to go. But when you look at the pictures of it, the fields of it are like this. We see like a bent tail on it. These are the way the fields come in and the fields go. So in a way, it tells us which way it's going in the galaxy. It's already destined to its next position. And the system uses a geometry of a constant speed and reduction in speed by magnetic field interaction and not by brakes and jet propulsion. We see it reversing. It doesn't. All it does is weaken the strength from the gravitational point of the sun. When it weakens the gravitational, the pull is less. So when the pull is less, it comes. But we have to see in a way where it came from, because it's still connected with, increases the power on the back end. And then we see this tail wagging. People, scientists, are not aware of this knowledge, so they don't see. But if you, let me see if I can find a picture. It's very easy to see, actually indicates where it came from, this thing. It's in one of the pictures of the, what do you call, NASA. We see the tail. You go on the internet and see it. The material is like this, for example, and it has a little bulgy end from the field point of view. This is where it's still connected to. This is where it's going to, and then the sun is speed control of it. Just watch. If you go on the internet, you see it. This is not 99%, 100% intelligent aircraft of a certain type, which knows the creation of the, what you call, plasmatic fields. And we see it in the center. It's very, very special field. You see the center. And the latest one we've seen with the, what we call, amateur ones, gives a lot of indication how this thing is about to go. It is historically a living structure. It is very much living structure, follows cylindrical fields, has managed to cover itself with the materials, and in the center is a UFO. This is a, and the center of it we see. The center we see, one of the new pictures has come out. It gives the picture like this to it, just coming off the Mars. And it bears every sign of a spaceship. I tell it. Book number 2. You read book number 2, you see, understand this. Is online manual structure working. We are not used to it, we don't understand it, so we see it as different things. And our science says, oh, it's got the green lights, it's got this and that. This is a spaceship. but it's so huge and it uses such a powerful system inside that it interacts, it'll damage us in a way. For the love of God, this thing has stayed away. Because if it would have been here, if it comes near us, it will destroy us. If it has technology that interacts from millions of kilometers with the sun, few hundred kilometers on Earth will wipe most of us out. Just by its interaction of it. That's why they released satellites. We saw it, 3 of them, and then they increased to thousands of smaller versions. Russian Space Agency, from one of their systems, released a picture very recently, and they took it off. That we see millions and millions of lights, very well coordinated. They turn together, they walk together in a way, they move together. There are a lot of things we have to watch, and there's a lot of things covered up. We cannot, governments don't want to see because they can't handle riots and God knows everything else, anarchy. This is a living object on what I call the celestial business, I call it. Earth is one of its points on the move, and is about to go, and it comes back in 3,000 years again. And that's why you can predict it the way we predict other meteorites. You say it comes back every few hundred years, then meteorite comes back. This is the meteorite. It's a space system developed by whichever race is collective knowledge of the races of this galaxy or collection of galaxies together, which goes around the tour, and the tourists get on and get off. Is what I call I was joking, is a Silk Road, what do you call it, caravan, but a space version of it. The time, the interaction of it, the appearance of it is in scriptures. So it has a reason, it has a cycle. They found this coming of it, the position of it, the time of it in the what do you call manuscripts, in the old pictures on the stones. It's very interesting. So we're dealing with the galaxial meteorite, which is not a meteorite, it's just a transport system. Any other question?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you very much. Let's see if our children report hundreds or tens of years, new races appearing. Maybe we'll see it in our own time. We got to see. As I said to someone very recently, they managed to cover the Mars. Would we be able to manage the Earth encounter, if there is going to be one? Any question?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe.
Sorry about that. Before we start, I received the message. I should have said that after the break. A few number of the Halloween surprise packages left because they were made in a very small amount. And the ones for the Christmas one, please complete it, because there'll be no more be made by around about 10th of November that everything leaves for Christmas. So this year we're now going to the last end. Mid-November is the last batch will be accepted for delivery for December. And we still need a lot of support for these units. We need as many as possible to be distributed to be able to keep the integrity. Please help with it to be done. Any other question?
Yes, let me share my desktop here, which is a couple of images that were sent to me by Cristiano from the 92nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop. If you can cast your mind back to 2015, that's 10 years ago.
Well. I remember very well, yes. Go on, tell me.
Well, we have a very similar diagrams with the star configuration as well as a spaceship shape from the fields generated from the configurations. And so, and you mentioned in your second book, which would have been what, back in 2007 or 8 or something like that, I guess, where you were already talking about that geometric configuration. So you've let the cat out of the bag a long time ago, Mr. Keshe, but we're a little slow to take up on the idea.
If you look at the picture, which is released by non-NASA group this week, we see this picture. We clearly see, they actually bring this picture out of 3I near Mars. This picture clearly is like this has been shown to be part of the structure of the 3I. So what we see, I have the picture, but I don't know if we can use it because it's in public, but I don't know if it's a copyright picture or not. I send it to you, you check, you tell me, and then you put it next to this, you will see it.
Yes,
What they've seen. Pardon?
Someone might just need a to give the acknowledgement who did the picture. Some of the space pictures and so on from various telescopes can be used, but they need
it's
to
taken from the Earth. It's done by an amateur. Well, he's well-known amateur, what do you call it, with a telescope. In the picture he's released in past 24 hours, gives exactly this picture. I send it to you. I don't know if we can publish it, we can show it. I send it to you, and you decide, Mr. Crummett. The picture is very nice on your chat. It's coming through, it's coming through, it's coming through, it's coming through. Being on the Mars takes a long time to get to you to the Earth.
Yes, I think we could share that. It's seems okay.
If you put it next to each other, you see it.
Let's get it downloaded here.
This is what we had in past 24 hours, and that's from 10 years. They see a central light in it, which means it carries a reactor. You see it. 10 years ago, and today's picture past 24 hours. If you put other picture next to it, then you see it. I think this comes from teaching in Trani, if I remember.
Yes, I believe so. You were in front of the whiteboard there.
Yep. So it's a light. You see the what I call if you look at it, you see what we shown 10 years ago. I tried to use a blue, it's very clear. You see the light, and then you see what they put. And it sits in the dip. That's how the systems work that way when you got the stuff. The rest of it, the preferability is the protection. It's a jacket. Any other question?
Okay, we've got a important question from Jefferson, who often has questions. He's from Brazil, and he says, thank you very much for joining us. Says, despite following all your teachings since 2018, I'm afraid I won't be able to learn how to perform the transmutation process. I'm afraid I won't be able to be by your side if and when you need me. I'm afraid I won't be able to keep up with your enlightenment. My question is, how can I know if I'm on the right path? Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe.
You feel it. It's an emotion. No books written. Every book written has been tampered by those for the benefit of themselves. When it's written in emotion, nobody can tamper with it because it's you and what's inside you with you. As simple as that. You know when you reach it, you know when you can do it, and if you stay true to yourself, you can do it. You don't need anything else. There's no book written how for you to go. Does anybody write a book to you or for you has written that you go to you go to the shop, you buy bread, you come home? No, you feel hungry, you need the bread, you're going to do it. And this is the same.
And what about the fears that he brings up, that he fears or is afraid he won't be able to be adequate in a way to perform the transmutation?
The only fear man has from transmutation is the loss of physicality. It's the loss of physicality and how much you're attached to it. how much we are connected to it, what we see within it, and because of it. And that's the only problem. The only fear is attachment, because if you don't have that fear, you can do it anytime. Even though we say we're not afraid or don't have fear, but I can't do it, find what's holding you back. There's a big difference between transmutation and death or suicide. With transmutation, we know we are in charge. With death, we know we cannot get it back. And man has been made so unsecure of itself that he accepts the death, but he can't accept that he can transmute. He doesn't need to die. It's ingrained in our system of energy. Until you don't taste it, you don't know it. We are so afraid of letting the physicality go that even the knowledge of knowing that we can create the physicality on our own will has us scared of doing it. That's all the thing is, fear of our own trust in ourselves. That's the only reason. That's why you never get books. Because the book of knowledge is in the soul of the man, written by the universe, not by a freak or somebody to their benefit. You bring any of the holy books, any of you believe in it, and I show you how much of it is not true and how much is fake. They made you to believe in it. Torah, Bible, Quran, and every other holy book. Written to the fear of the man, and those who know how to abuse the fear, they do what they like with it, and you are there. And the fear of the man, of his own strength, has held the man doing what it is. Why you're afraid of not being able to do it? Because you already know how to do it. You're denying your dreams. Nobody else does. This is our choice, and we choose it. Any other?
Okay, we had a question from Achilles who says, "Good day, Professor." He says, Omar M. Yaghi of the UC Berkeley won this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry. Mr. Keshe deliberately mentioned Professor Yaghi's work on MOF materials in the GANS materials chapter of the second book. Could this serve as an opportunity for people to further realize and recognize the implication and application of GANS materials? Thank you.
What?
Have you mentioned Professor Yaghi, Yaghi, in the second book, perhaps, with the GANS materials chapter? I don't know. I'd have to look it up or search it somehow. Does that not ring a bell? He apparently won this year's Nobel Prize in Chemistry for well, I'm not sure exactly. I guess for nanomaterials of some sort. And he's saying that is this an opportunity for people to further recognize the application of the GANs materials, because this
the application, the gas material at the moment is sitting to be recognized as a new material, a new matter state. It's been a battle to be set. It's, I can't remember, so I have to, if anybody's got a book, go back onto it and tell us where it is, then we have a look at it. The book is written nearly 18, 20, oh no, 15, 18 years ago.
Hassan puts in the chat page 56 and 55 of book 2. So I can maybe have a look at that, but we may not have time. Maybe we can deal with that next week. Would be interesting.
Yeah.
Okay, well, perhaps we can take a question from Danielle, who says, "Good morning, Mr. Keshe. Thank you so much. You have been explaining to us for a long time that we should not kill to feed ourselves. And every day I reflect on every meal I eat. I talk to and touch my fruit trees with the intention of exchanging energy with them. But I am still hungry. I feel an urgency in this understanding. I don't want to kill anymore. We have great changes in this world, and every day I feel the great need we have to learn. Could you teach us how to feed ourselves from the fields in a very simple way, as if you were teaching a child?"
That's a battle I have more or less on every meal. Why do I eat? I know how to feed. But maybe a shortcut to convince myself is that I have to go up, do the path of the man, to stay with the man, to know the principle of the man. There's more or less not a day which I don't face this. There's a way to do it, you can do it, and I mean, I went on a path of trying to, but on the path of trying to, I found more weaknesses of the man and everything else there, which is very amazing. But there are ways you can do. There are many, many ways you can do. It's you can create an environment, which is one of the best ways to do it. Environment of the combination of the fields, what the body is made of, and what converts itself to. Then you can more or less go without it. Some of the knowledge gets went to the gas material, they were still eating, drinking water of the gases and the rest of it. If we be lucky to be observers, or in the next weeks or months or years, of those who come to this planet as an energy and convert to the physicality of the man, and we come to know them, then you understand how you can do it. Maybe man learns, teaches, but with the systems we are building, this 10,000 units, where you fall, we pick you up. Where you go into doubts, we feed you with strength. And you'll understand what it means. Because it has to become a second nature. Those of you who have a urge for not to eat, because I get many, many communications from you, not I don't want to eat, I want to blah, blah, blah. But understand why. and how you can do it and how you can change it. It's not just not eating, how you tap in. It goes back to the question we just answered. What is your fear of death? Because you think if you don't eat, you might die, or you might not be here. You have to satisfy the emotion of the non-existence or death, and then you understand why you kill, and then you understand you don't need to, and then you change into taking energy. In the coming months, I'll run a trial in one of our research centers in creating a condition for life to manifest itself in multiple layers. And I'm setting things up very slowly, very gradually. And then it won't be a hologram. It'll be a dimension of the soul, how that soul wants you to see it. A fish, a cat, changing from the cat to a fish. And just making the preparation for it to be done. And then you see it's you who decides, and you can tap into it. This is why I don't understand. I try to understand the process of the fear of life. What I call the fear of life is, why do we have fear to lose life? We do anything for it to be here to torture ourselves, where we can actually enjoy the life without actually dimension of physicality. Is that touch? The biggest problem for man is that cycle of touch, smell, taste. They call it the five senses, and I call it the five prisons. And we have imprisoned ourselves with our senses to this physicality. If you let it go, you can live in any dimension. And you
Very good, thank you.
There's something I forgot to tell you. Please, when you receive your units in next 4 or 5 weeks, or maybe sooner or later, please do not do anything with it but just to plug it. We do the rest. Do not tamper with it. Do not try to connect it to a computer. Do not do anything with it. As we will try to bring it into the point that all of you, when you receive the second part, connecting the second part to the first part sometime in the very near future, you start connecting with the rest of, and possibly beyond of, and be able to receive a lot of things through your systems. The first part is a man-made part. Second part is connection to universe. And don't touch what you receive. Just plug to where it says and stay with it. Don't touch it, don't play with it. And see what changes it brings to your life and the people around you. We need it for you to understand. When you start receiving your second part, just take it out of its package and connect it to the first part, and that's all you need to do. And it has a structure of energy like a soul. You tamper with yourself. And then maybe you can release yourself from eating and the rest of it. These systems will be a dual system. One is the one which you carry your coins and your other bits, information and teaching. And at the same time, it carries a dimension of connection to what we call universal teaching. You deprive yourself from receiving the knowledge. Any other question?
Well, I was just perusing my book 2, The Structure of the Light, which is a little kind of tattered over the years. The pages are falling out from opening it many times. But you do actually mention Dr. Omar M. Yaghi of the University of California. It was due to a paper that was done back in 2009, which he mentions metal organic frameworks, which are MOFs, material promise of carbon capture and release, and that these materials, being crystalline sponge hybrid lattices of organic compound and metal atoms, has been a huge internal area where gas molecules can be absorbed. And you talk about this in a little bit further. And in the paper, Dr. Yagi states MOF used in the study contain magnetism atoms. And then you go on and explain about that. And it's, you mentioned the doctor a couple of other times as well here. And it's pretty much a full comparison and report. And it's funny because Hassan had recommended page 55 and 56, which in my book did not compute. It wasn't there. I couldn't find it. And by accident, I looked in the back index, and there the name was Omar M. Yagi on page 77. I went, what? My jaw dropped. I went, what? Okay, so Dr. Yagi has gone on to get the Nobel Prize, and Mr. Keshe, on the other hand, is still waiting for that one. You certainly deserve it for on many accounts, many different Nobel Prizes, actually, including peace and in science and probably several other categories.
As you know, one of the things we were nominated for Nobel Prize when we went to the meeting. I'm sure Knowledge Seeker, who was with me, the doctor, can tell you. The professors were told, if you attend a meeting for this, you lose your professorship, and a couple of them resigned from Dutch universities because of this. You got to understand that in many, many theses, we have copies of some of these theses. The authors of the thesis for PhDs or research have mentioned that the technology base comes from Keshe Foundation and MT Keshe, and they've been told if you use that, your research will not be accepted. You have to delete it. So it's a credit to humanity. That's not the problem. If we were after fame and name, we would have put a patent in and fought everyone in every corner for every time they use something. We'll explain this in the time to come. The biggest, I'm reading this, it's been posted here. The biggest beauty with this technology, with this structure is the creation of the what we call systems that will be dynamic in structure of the process of creation. What this means is systems which have no dimensions but emotion and create their own structure. And this will come very, 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 very soon. Well, but what this means, it means chip blocks, or what we call like microchips of today, but in a way with no wiring and no components, made by energy. maybe we are 2 years away from it. I wrote to one of the major producers of the microchip systems very recently, past few days in Europe, that if they can produce the system for this, and the system will change a lot of things, which means making computers which are very much copy of the brain of the man. We don't have resistance transistors, but we have such a huge memory bank and reaction, and then converts the emotion into motion of the physical running of sorting and the rest of it. And we have developed this technology now. Very soon it will be added to. And then the biggest problem will be for the scientists, if that system on its own can create its own, what I call magnetic field, and create its own structure and physicality. We make the soul and the brain, and then that decides how we look. We're I think about 2 years, 3 years away from to do it. Another question.
Well, I did chase down the Nobel Prize here, and it is for this year. And Omar Yaghi, it mentions here, is one of the 3 that received it for the Nobel Prize in Chemistry. And it's about this metal organic frameworks, which are used to harvest water from desert air, capture carbon dioxide, store toxic gases, or catalyze chemical reactions. And all of this was explained back in, when was this book done? I think it was 2008 or something like that. And where you explain for a couple of pages, referencing directly Dr. Yaghi's work back then with the MOF substances, and you itemize the improvements that you have with your system over his system. And here he is 10 years later, has gone on to get the Nobel Prize. It's quite interesting, I think. And it's very important, of course. So if only they would have listened to you 10 years ago, they probably could have launched a little faster, but they're getting there. Sounds like the scientific community has now discovered GANs.
We have to see what comes up. We'll see. It's not discovered, it's used. It's something which is used by in different ways. Is the fear of the knowledge at the moment. And too many, what we call rogue scientists and the governments have got hold of, and they do. And it's the way it is. So, any other question?
Okay, I guess we're getting close to the end of our show here. Let me see, I don't have any hands up currently. We did have a simple question from Tender earlier, which you've already partly answered. I'm trying to get it back up. Just bear with me a second. It's just the question, the bare question, what is energy of matter? And she went on to say, is it the potential of matter?
Energy of the matter, as I explained a few minutes ago, is to hold the electrons, atom together, protons and neutrons and everything else. You need to understand each one has its own energy. And that energy is looked at as a matter of electron. Even that structure of the electron itself is again energy. Now, if we learn to release that energy, you don't need to burn to change the composition or matter state of it. The matter state changes on its own. And it's just for us to learn how it's done. And how it can be utilized to use the energy of the matter and then from it to create matter of energy. And it's very, very simple. It's amazingly simple to do if you understand one way or the other. It's maybe when I speak about this, it's just from the nuclear point of view. You see it all the time, but they call it all sorts of names, but in fact it's the energy of the matter. That energy which hold together, that it given condition, it becomes matter. And then when it's matter, it's you have to work it as matter, but when it's energy, you work as in the energy state. Yin and yang. That's all it is. But energy of matter is millions of times more than the matter, which energy which comes from burning matter. Matter energy is very, very little compared to energy of matter itself. You see that in first times when I saw the nuclear technology, it eludes, just fascinating what it is, how it is. And the scientists cannot explain it because they don't understand it. They call it the radiation. Shall we call it a day?
Sure, yes, thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for today. And hopefully we'll hear some more by next week. Somebody wrote to me in the background, says, can you explain what happened to the war with Iran and Israel? A lot of things has happened, and there's still those who were planning it, still in the process of planning it, and we have to see when you make a mistake, you have to stand your own mistakes. And maybe with what has happened around us, maybe for so many reasons, you have to watch, be cautious in what might happen, because somebody is very desperate to stay alive. And that desperation can lead to a lot of attacks and a lot of stupid things. In the next few days, we'll make an announcement that by the request of the Brazilian community and the Chinese, I'll be running a session with the Brazilian community in one of their sessions next few weeks. So they announce it. And try, it's not the teaching, but the sharing knowledge and sharing everything with the knowledge seekers in this session, but the request of the Brazilian group. And I hope will be in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Then we'll let you know. I'm sure Raphael will let you know when the meeting will take place. We try to make the best of what it is, and at the same time try to bring concentration back on technology and teaching. Thank you very much, and hopefully see you next time.
All right, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much for another Knowledge Seekers workshop here, number 611, on Thursday, October 9th, 2025. If there's any remaining questions, please carry them over till next week if you wish, and we'll address them then. Thank you, everyone, for attending today's workshop, and we should be back again, same time and place next week for the 612th Knowledge Seekers Workshop. In the meantime, we do have coming up on, just get my calendar out here, on Monday the 13th will be our public meeting for testimonials. And that starts at the 8 p.m. Central European Time. If you have a testimonial of the plasma technology, whether it's something that's changed your life in some way or perhaps changed the lives of someone else, it's a good opportunity to let the public know about the Keshe technology, the plasma technology, and just record it for posterity, as they say. So again, that's Monday the 13th, starting at 8 p.m. Central European Time, and that's open to members of the public. Same Zoom channel. And then on Tuesday the 14th, we have the 400th One Planet, One Nation, One Race for Justice and World Peace. And that will start at the 4 p.m. Central European Time. And that will be with members and support members of the Universal Council. Okay, I think that's it. One other thing to show, which is our open here from the message from the Universal Council, and it goes like this. We, the Universal Council, invite you to freely unite your souls every 3 hours, unifying them to illuminate the souls of all leaders and find the path to permanent peace, avoiding the suffering of physicality on this planet. Okay, thank you to Lissy from the Universal Council who sent that and arranges the programs for the Universal Council meetings on Tuesday as well. Okay, I think that's it for today, and we'll go out with our usual flight enhancement spaceship unit musical interlude. And again, thank you everybody for attending. Bye for now.